I was working Dollar General. I was like having a usual day and whatnot, and it was perfectly fine. It was a good day, and I was having me and a coworker. When we worked it together, we were just really good at it, and we um, we just goed with the flow. We were really good at what we did, and we were a team because there's usually only like two of us. There's only two of us when we're we're closing. It was by far one of my favorite jobs that I did at the time because I was really good at it. And retail has always been one of those things that I've just been really good at with something. So, one of those things that it just happened that when I walked into work, I was doing fine. It was a good day. And the managers of the store just left, and it was just me and the manager on the shift working together. He was one of the best people I've ever worked with. He was a really good person. He was one of those type of people that it was just really good, and it was just great. We had a good time. There was never an issue with anything, and eventually when I started it was about when I was going about to my break time. So my manager, which he uses a vape all the time, I used to use one, but I quit doing it because it was just more recreational when I used it. Um, well, it turned out that when I was going on break, I was going to break down my vape for him because, like, when he asked me, he was like, sure, yeah, I can bring it in. And I know how much he likes using it because it was a very expensive mod box that I had. It was a Snow Wolf, and Snow Wolves are usually, like, really, like, top quality kind of thing. And it was one of those things that I just like, sure, whatever, I'll bring it in for you. And well, I was heading to break. I had it broken down already, and at that point, it was just like because this store. Okay, let me put this in a little setting. So with the way this store is positioned, there's barely anything out there. It's like there's only two stores right next to each other. You had the Speedway, which is like a Circle K or a corner store. It's a convenience store. So the convenience store is right next door, and there was us, which we were at a Dollar General. I worked as a Dollar General cashier, and well, when I was going on to break, we get waves. Basically, the store gets waves, and it comes all at once. There's like never anything that really happens or anything. It just you will get brief moments where it would just be calm, and then we just get like a ton of customers come through my cashier, and I'm primary cashier, so I'm always seeing a lot of the action and whatnot that happens when it gets busy and whatnot. And since there's only two of us that are working this shift, it's just me and the manager on shift, and me and him were effective. We always did really good, and our sales were the highest of any shift because we were such an effective team, and we got along so well. Anyway, but that's when things started getting really crazy, is that the store's like assistant manager or co-manager, if you will, she came in as like a customer. She was cashing out. She was shopping for things and whatnot. And like I said, it's being a small town, and there's like not really many things out there, and it's mainly farmland and whatnot. She was coming through the cash register. She was checking out, and I've already had my mod box just broken down for my manager because I was gonna clean it because no one likes to use old juice because it's gross. It tastes gross, and so I was cleaning it out and whatnot. But it had it broken down. I set it down right here next to me, kind of hidden behind, because there was like like a little display right here where there was about this much room where it was behind it, and there was empty space because I usually kept my register clean. And I had it sitting right there behind that thing on my counter, and it was broken down because I was trying to clean it. And not more than like 2 to 3 feet away from me, like this way, there's an entire display case of cigarettes and tobacco products and all that stuff. And the assistant manager, she comes up to me to my register. She's not on the clock, she's just checking out like a normal customer. And I go through, I start checking my stuff, and then she somehow notices that my mod box is broken down. It's just right there behind the little grate, which is covered by products and whatnot on the other side for the customer because it's the display. She started asking me, hey, what's that? And I just pretty much was like, it's my mod box. I'm cleaning it down, and I'm cleaning it because on my break, I was stopping my break so I can take care of the cashiering because there's only 2 of us on. She cuts me off right there. She doesn't even let me finish. She just cuts me off, and she's like, no, I want you to know why is it there. I want to know why it's there. And I'm just like, I'm explaining why. Can I explain? No, why is it there? And then she starts going off on me for no apparent reason at all. And I mean, yeah, she's the assistant manager. I didn't know this at the time because she didn't have her makeup on. She didn't have anything on. She was another face in the crowd. And I see hundreds of customers every day. And it was just one of those situations where it was there, and I have literally a ton of tobacco products like cigarettes and cigars and rolling tobacco and rolling paper for the rolling tobacco. I've got lighters. There's everything behind me. And she goes on about like, why is it out there? You're not supposed to have it out there. I'm going to have you reiterate it. And for the people who don't know, I actually had to search this up myself. Reiterated means reevaluate. No, she straight up got me fired from that incident, and it was one of those things that just never should have happened because I didn't have any write-ups. I was always on time, and I was one of the best workers. I was their fastest cashier alongside my manager on shift, which I was working with, because he's got more retail experience than me, and he's been doing that for a lot longer than I have. But when I was going through and I finished checking her out, I was having a breakdown. I was breaking down, and it was just bad to the point I was talking to the manager on shift, and I was like, what does this reiterate mean? And this is when I searched it up because I looked it up with him. And he told me, don't worry about it. He was trying to calm me down because he can see I was stressing out. I was having a panic attack, and I just could not function anymore. And I went to the break room. I finished cleaning the mod box, of course, and I put it back together so he could use it because we had to take turns taking breaks because there's only 2 of us that are running this entire store. And he goes through, takes his break and whatnot. After a while, I go on my weekend because it was my weekend, and that was my Friday that it happened. So my day of when I was going back in, basically, which technically would have been my Monday, I get a call from the actual store manager. She was like, hey, so by the way, you're being terminated, and I will not be here when you clock in. And in my mind, I was like, wait a minute. If I'm terminated, why are you saying that you're not going to be there when I clock in? That's a no-no. That's a big no-no. You're not supposed to say that ever. And she screwed up there because eventually, after I found out, the store started destruction of reputation, which basically they were destroying my appearance as an actual worker, that I was how I really worked. And it really didn't work out very well for me afterward. I had problems things just didn't go well, it just cascaded in bigger and bigger and bigger events. And but eventually afterward, uh, I just, it was chewing at me. It was destroying me from the inside out because she specifically just violated, and I'm working 6 hours a week or a day. I'm working 6 hours a day. And when I go in to chat with the actual store manager, she said, well, first of all, you're not allowed to get breaks. And per labor laws, if you work more than 5 hours, you're entitled to a break, period, regardless. That is work ethics. And from that point, I was just livid. I did my research, I did everything, and I found out that she was in multiple different violations of work things, and I was terminated for the wrong reasons because afterwards, I was living with my grandparents at the time because I was trying to get back on my feet, and I've had to get back on my feet quite a few times. There's a lot of stories I can tell and whatnot. But the biggest one was the fact that when I was living with them, I spoke to my grandmother, which she helps me with a lot of things, and she really kind of guides me. She's a guider and really helps me through life a lot. And one of the things that she did was like, she can't say that. You can't, you get breaks because you work more than 5 hours a day. And at that point, I was like, what do I do? I tried to go after her and whatnot, and I actually tried to go through labor force and all these things so that way I can try to correct this and whatnot. But the biggest problem was the fact that I was having so much issues trying to do this, and I couldn't do this because it was destroying me. I lost my job for the wrong reasons, because the reason I said the wrong reasons is because after I got terminated, they hired someone new, and they told her the previous person before her, which was me, was smoking on the job at the register. Once I heard that, I charged in that door and I was like, I want to see physical video evidence because there is a camera right over there watching that register the whole time. They refused. They did not want to show it. They didn't want to. And it was directly towards me where they were trying to lie. And I got blacklisted from coast to coast on the states from ever working at a Dollar General again. I can't apply. When I tried to apply again for a different store, they said that this applicant cannot apply at this time. And that was one of the biggest issues that I noticed. That was a big red flag because now I can't work at a Dollar General ever. And I was upset. I didn't know what to do. I just kind of carried on with my life. There was no resolve. There was nothing. Basically, they got what they wanted, and it destroys me that that is on my personal work record now, because it is a wrongful termination, and it's there forever, and there's nothing I can do. But after a while of actually doing things, I kind of just found a new job, and I just moved on with my life. And then afterward, more events happened, and I moved out, and now I moved to a different state because I was like, maybe I need a fresh start, and I did, and it's helped me so far with coping. And I figured that, and just the other day, my buddy was like, me and him were having differences and whatnot, and then eventually he recommended, hey, you really need to talk this out. And I'm like, I was considering it for the longest amount of time. Eventually, when I started looking at VRChat videos, because I like VRChat. VRChat has been one of the things that I've enjoyed. But I saw that there was this guy who records clips and videos of other people who they do stories kind of like what I'm doing, but I'm doing this solo and on my own because I have the experience. But I took inspiration from that, and I decided this is it. This is how I'm gonna cope. And I figured I'm gonna record these types of videos to get it off my chest and move on with my life from all the bad and negativity like Dollar General, where it was just wrong. It was not fair at all to me that I was wrongfully terminated and I could not do anything because I couldn't. It destroyed me, and I figured that's why I'm in a new state and I'm doing these types of things to try and cope, because I don't want to hide anymore. I'm tired of running. I'm tired of not dealing with the problems, and there's more stories to come for sure. And I'm probably gonna, I don't know if I'll do one daily. I don't know if I'll do that yet, but I know this kind of all blended together, but it's all linked in one way or another. Life is full of events where it just happens, then this happens, and such and such and such, and it just keeps going. But I'm happy now that when I left that situation in the behind and started this new place, and I'm now going to, I'm working at a new I'm working at a Walmart now, which that's a whole new can of worms. But Dollar General has been a place where it's like a small town. It was a small town. It was home, and I'm scared, and it just, it chews at me, and I figured I just need to do something. And I feel defeated. I can't do anything about it. And I just keep going with life because there's nothing I can do anymore. So it's one of those things that I'll just try my best. I try my best to keep going, and I take life one step at a time, day by day. But that's pretty much the best thing that I can even think about it or even describe how that happened. It was a situation where it shouldn't happen, but it did, and it's against work ethics. And I want people to know that it's going to happen to everyone at least one time, where they will be terminated wrongfully, and if you're lucky, it won't happen to you. So it's just one of those things that I feel like getting off my chest will help me defenture and keep going with my life and help cope with everything that does happen to me. But that's pretty much the story of Dollar General.